In history, many killers have acted with chilling arrogance, taking lives without regard for the consequences. But what happens when the tables are turned and they are faced with the ultimate penalty? In today's video, we explore the inherent irony of convicted murderers. They were brazen in their crimes, yet often unable to face death themselves. Go on a deep dive with us through these last moments of confidence turning to despair. Let us get into deep moments when well-known killers face final judgments, which are usually death sentences. Has it ever occurred to you what people who have lived outside the law think as they pay prices beyond comparison? This conversation reflects not only on the dark sides of human nature, but also shows how complex and definite justice can be. Stick around while we go through these serious defining points. The imposition of a death sentence upon a killer who has been found guilty presents legal and moral complexities that shake every justice system's foundation worldwide. The debate continues over the ethics of killing authorized by the state, whether or not capital punishment has any deterrent effect, and a person's ability to be redeemed. Today, we get to know these criminals who were once cold-blooded killers, but now quiver at their death sentences. Frazier Glenn Cross, an American domestic terrorist and ex-leader of North Carolina-based white supremacist group, White Patriot Party, Frazier Glenn Cross became infamous after he carried out a 2014 shooting spree at 2 Jewish sites in suburban Kansas City, where 3 people died. He said that his motivation was driven by his extreme hatred towards certain sectors, which led him to believe all victims were Jewish when he shot them at Overland Park Jewish Community Center. This event not only resulted in the loss of innocent lives, but also brought back talks about hate crimes in America and terrorism being homegrown. Cross, who is known to be vocal with his hatred, bluntly admitted, "I love to hate. Hate gets me through my days. Gives me a warm, soothing feeling in my stomach to know that I hate my enemies." This chilling admission underscores the deep-seated animosity that fueled his violent acts. This hatred is still obvious, even when he was sentenced to death, based on this reaction.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of capital murder as charged in count 1.
I think the fat lady just sang, "Seat high."
Count 3.
Despite his expectation of facing lethal injection, Cross died in a Kansas prison, escaping the formal execution that awaited him. His death marks the end of a dark chapter characterized by racial hatred and violence, leaving behind a tale that serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of intolerance and extremism. Markeith Lloyd. It was January 2017 when Markeith Lloyd, a Florida resident, received capital punishment for shooting dead Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. Prior to killing Lieutenant Clayton, he had been sentenced to life imprisonment because of murdering his pregnant girlfriend, Sade Dixon, who he killed just a month before he shot Deborah Clayton. The sad story leading to the cop's demise started off after an individual shopping in Walmart on what is supposed to be a very normal day. She recognized Lloyd, who was still on the loose, having killed Dixon. She was at the wrong place at the wrong time since she happened to be present at that particular store, thereby culminating into a lethal encounter. A gunfight broke out during which Officer Clayton lost her life, thus intensifying the already desperate manhunt for Lloyd. He was eventually caught following long hours spent searching for him. In December, prosecutors followed the unanimous jury's recommendation and handed down the death sentence, making his criminal record even more horrifically grave. During his sentencing, he was still defensive and lashed out verbally after his death sentence was handed down. Dexter Johnson. In 2007, Dexter Johnson was sentenced to death for participating in a terrible double murder just after he turned 18. However, his execution has been delayed because of legal problems. He and 4 other teenagers committed various crimes over a period of several days, and the culmination of this spree was carjacking and robbery. The victims, an innocent couple, were taken by Johnson and his accomplices to an area where they were forced out of their vehicle at gunpoint before being shot dead by Johnson with help from another teen. A federal judge stopped Johnson's execution last year, even though he had already been convicted. The delay was caused when an attorney newly appointed to represent him needed more time so she could address possible issues on the part of her predecessor and investigate claims about his mental disability, which would make him ineligible for capital punishment under U.S. Supreme Court decisions. As long as Dexter stays alive waiting for his fate on death row, it is evident that mental health intersects with justice systems at complex points where life meets death. Back in 2007, during his sentencing, he flew into a rage and began knocking down chairs before he was tackled by about a dozen courtroom officers. Martez Abram received a death sentence in December 2022 for killing 2 Walmart employees and received a life sentence for trying to kill a police officer during the same incident the following day. In July 2019, he shot and killed 2 co-workers named Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales after being suspended earlier in the shift when he pulled a knife out, causing panic among staff. The jury took only 55 minutes to find him guilty, and a couple of hours later, he was given the dreaded death sentence, bringing chaos to the courtroom. This case highlights the swift and severe consequences of workplace violence, leaving a community reeling from the sudden and violent loss of life. Abram's actions and subsequent trial have sparked discussions on workplace safety, mental health, and the legal system's handling of such devastating incidents. He broke down when he was finally sentenced, most likely realizing that there was no way out of the consequences he had to face.
Stop it. That's you, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
Look at it, please, sir.
Yes.
All right, proceed. Stop. Mr. Gale is on the floor going down at this point, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you shooting him, right?
Yes.
Okay, proceed. Stop it. Look at the screen, sir.
Yes.
That's you shooting him?
Yes.
And you admit that you shot him in cold blood?
Yes.
Proceed. And then stop. You shot him again, didn't you?
Yes.
While he's on the floor. Yes? Back it up. You're going to watch it, so I don't want to play with you. There. Play it. There. You shot him again, didn't you?
Yes.
All right, proceed. Now, after that, you went back to the toilet paper aisle, didn't you?
Yes.
Let's go on, Pop.
Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos was a street prostitute in Florida who victimized 7 male clients between 1989 and 1990, making her one of the most infamous figures in American criminal history. She said she acted in self-defense, claiming that she had been assaulted. After being caught and brought to trial, Wuornos was found guilty and given the death sentence for 6 of these murders. She was ultimately executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002, after spending more than 10 years on death row. Her life, filled with turmoil and wrongdoing, was later portrayed in the 2003 movie Monster, which saw Charlize Theron win an Oscar for Best Actress as Wuornos. Her legal journey was marked by reconciling attempts with past mistakes and spiritual beliefs. In 1992, she even pleaded no contest to killing 3 men and expressed wanting to get right with God. At her sentencing hearing, Aileen Wuornos addressed Assistant State Attorney Rick Ridgway with a hateful tirade that wished ill upon his family while throwing up an obscene gesture at him, accompanied by expletives. This moment showcased just how far gone into anger and bitterness Warnos had become. She left behind what may be the most striking example ever recorded of someone's hatred towards others, manifesting itself within so many layers.
I sentence you in case number 91-463 to death for the murder of Troy Burris. Case number 91-304, I sentence you to death for the murder of Charles Humphreys. Case number 91-112, Citrus County case number, I sentence you to death for the murder of David Spears.
Thank you. And probably see, I'll be up in heaven while y'all are rotting in hell.
We will handle that.
Baked in the gas one of these days.
Okay, there will be an automatic appeal. You have the right to an appeal. Mr. Glazer, is that going to be handled by you
May
or the
your
public
wife and
defender?
kids get raped.
I would ask that you would
Right
appoint
in
the
the
public defender's
ass.
office.
Okay,
to handle the appeal.
I'll appoint the public defender's office to handle the appeal. There's one other thing that I want to say that I think needs to be said.
I know I was raped, and you aren't nothing but a bunch of scum.
Therefore, these proceedings are now
Putting
concluded.
somebody who was raped to death, you fucking motherfucker!
As we go through these murderers who received their death sentences, we witness how these cold-blooded killers react differently and profoundly toward the verdicts they received. These are moments that bring out strong feelings among people, but which are hidden under tough exteriors most times. For example, no one could believe their eyes when Dexter Johnson threw a fit after being sentenced to die. He had remained calm throughout his trial. He went mad and started throwing chairs all over the courtroom until security guards subdued him amid confusion. Martez Abram also showed us what it means to be hopeless within seconds after receiving his sentence. Once reality dawned on him, everything fell apart. These actions show not only how much pain those living on death row go through, but also serve as reminders that capital punishment has emotional effects too. When we see these genuine moments pass before our very eyes, we can't help ourselves but think deeply about fairness, revenge, and humanity itself. Their responses were different. Some exploded while others caved in, but all showed signs of deep disturbance inside them as they faced impending execution. The reactions challenge our sense of righteousness and make us consider what it is like for people who know that their time is running out, especially when society has already condemned them so strongly. The emotional breakdowns displayed by these killers facing sentences cannot be easily comprehended because they seem to be a mix of various emotions that cannot be easily comprehended. As we watch these types of things happening, we come face to face with conflicting thoughts about morality versus justice, which may never find any resolution until someone dies somewhere along this line. What do you think of these reactions from death row inmates? Is there someone on this list who is undeserving of their death sentence? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to our channel to check out more gripping true crime stories. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.